Good
Nice to see you
morning.
all. And first of all, Lincoln's, congratulations. You know, most of you, I think, have gone ahead and your exam fees are paid. So we are looking good to take your, NIS ahead. And yes, for other Stegors, this is one of the last two classes I'm going to take for biology. Probably, actually, it is the last chapter that I'm going to take today. And after this, we will do a complete revision of the ICTs. So some of you who have, missed out on ICTs, we'll also do a good review with you. And Tagores, anything that we do in ninth is actually going to help you as we go ahead in the grade 10 standard. So that is almost as good as something that you will revise on. Fair enough. How is it? Mumbai is cold? Is it I'm wearing my jacket and sitting here. No, you guys are not feeling cold? No, you all like all are teas
It's
and
very cold.
yeah, see, someone's at least with me. Others, I don't know where they're living in. I think Mozam is living in Dubai anyway. He wants to go there. So
No,
no, you guys are not feeling cold. I don't see that. Where is Farhana? Safia? You aren't feeling cold as well? We live in the same house. Yeah, good enough. Farhana, is it cold there in your place? Wherever you live? Yeah, she's feeling cold. Wear your blankets and sweaters and ooh, it's nice. It's nice to see at least a little bit of cold around. Okay. So Yusuf, Safia's, the other Safia, Pranav, all of you good enough? Can we start a biology session? The last chapter, as in the chapters will also be pre-recorded, so you'll have all the access to the notes, all the access to the presentations I do, and the access to the videos. So you can always do a recap of it. But officially, we started our biology chapter from chapter number 19, I believe, and today is 25 chapters. We did heredity. Today is a very interesting chapter, a topic which is, sometimes people are reluctant to talk about, but we will take it up heads on. This is what we talk about: reproduction. So, all those things associated with the chapter is about how we procreate, how as an organism, as a species, humans, animals, fungi, plants, algae, everyone, how do we recreate the entire species ahead? Correct. In simple terms, reproduction is a process where one took a four, at least one becomes two. Correct? So you double up. The species become bigger. Okay, very quickly, even before you go ahead, what is the current world human population? What is it?
about 7.9 billion.
Ooh, 7.9 billion. That's interesting. Last I heard it was 7.1 billion. What's happening? Where did this 8 million come from? Or 800 million actually? Yes? All are a product of reproduction, right? Someone somewhere has actually a lot of babies and babies and babies coming in. Also, also the life expectancy of today's person has increased. In the olden time as in time of Julius Caesar, for example, or Alexander the Great, if you lived till 50, you were actually an old man. 50 was the new, the height of people living 50. 60, 70, unheard of. As people started becoming better in medical advances, as people started becoming better in health, and most of the time people today die out of accidents rather than illness. Of course, illness is also prevalent in terms of today's viruses coming in, but new and new diseases come in as the human healthcare tries to take care of it. Another very interesting aspect about it is, bees, right? You can see the bees in the picture. What are bees actually doing? What are bees doing? Yeah,
Collecting pollen.
collecting pollen. Wonderful. So the keyword will be pollinating, right? It's the process of pollination. Do you know if the bees, all the bees in the world, if they were to die within 24 hours, or at least some people say exaggerated, at least 1 week or 1 month, all the human species in the world will die. If only the bees would be extinct, we all would die. This is how important the bees are. Very interesting concept. That is where we realize that pollination is a reproduction part in plants. If we have time, I'll talk about pollination. But today, primarily, I'll speak about one type of reproduction, which is your first chapter, chapter number 24, which talks about asexual reproduction. What is asexual reproduction? Well, the idea is for reproducing, for having children, you need two things, right? A male and a female, two organisms. Correct? Adam and Eve. That's how the scriptures say. Anytime you need people. But there are some creatures, some organism, they can produce offspring as a single individual. So they have the gametes formation, they have all the process of fertilization happening in a single individual. Very interesting, very, very surprising. So today we're going to learn about these four processes. As I try
Doubts, sir?
to, yeah, go ahead.
So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Sir,
please.
Pranav, Safia, and Sharia, like Tagore children, please can you all join the Tagore link?
Oh, there is a Tagore class going on. Who's taking it?
Shabana ma'am is taking, sir.
Okay. Fine. They can go in. So they, others have joined in, Christina ma'am?
They are there in Tagore. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Tagore. Go ahead. This is nice. So I'm sorry, Tagore. I'll do this chapter again with you, but perfectly okay. All right. I think they'll join the classes. So good enough. Right. The rest of you, most of you have taken science, so this is good enough for you. Those who have not taken, it'll still be an interesting concept for you, right? Khadija, you've taken science, have you?
Yes.
Yes. You haven't taken, yes. So this also is an optional class for you, but I see you responding, so you can stay or you can, leave. It's your choice. Correct. Now,
Interesting.
okay, go ahead, enjoy class. It's absolutely fine. So it is, of course, asexual reproduction. You all understand that everyone evolution is required through two creatures. Now these are the terms I'm going to use. I'm going to explain them, make it interesting, make it at least the way you remember it, because this is also going to be part of your examination. Asexual reproduction are 4 parts. So we'll talk about each one of them, but I'll just run through it. Binary fission, budding, fragmentation, and Parthenogenesis. We'll talk about the word Genesis is a biblical word. It's one of the first books of the Bible where it says origin. The first. Can anybody tell me? It's very interesting. Just to understand. Do you know what's the first line of the Bible? No one? It's a very popular quote. You usually use it in speeches. People often quote it there. Okay, you can Google and tell me, but I believe it should be, and God created the world and he said, let there be light. So Genesis is when there was light. One of the requirement for life is sunlight. Actually, if there's no sunlight, we probably will die. We will not be able to live. Anyway, when I first heard about this whole concept, where did I learn about asexual reproduction? I was absolutely amazed. I was like, wow, is this even possible? When I watched this movie. What movie am I talking about? Can you see Farhana and Safia fighting with each other? Yeah? Safia, who are you and who's Farhana in this? Okay, we'll do a little vote out there, okay? So you can annotate. So if you put a circle, it is Safia. If you put a cross, it's Farhana. Come on, everybody, let me see. So if it is a cross, that is Farhana. And if you put a circle, it is Safia. Let me see how many votes you get. Okay, all right, there are 2 crosses here. Okay, there's 2 circles here. So we all agree, right? Farhana, you are the chimpanzee. Who is the chimpanzee? Gorilla, right? Okay, so this is King Kong Patel and Godzilla wed. When I first watched the movie Godzilla, it was in my college. It was in college, and they had to give some funda. They had to give some idea how did Godzilla become. There were only one Godzilla in the world. Godzilla is a Japanese myth. It's an amazing mythology. Like, do you know what Loch Ness monster? Loch Ness monster is a Scandinavian myth. There's a movie also on Loch Ness monster called The Water Horse. Now, the idea is the first Godzilla movie gave an idea that this Godzilla is an asexual reproduction. So it does not need a male. It's a female and she can produce babies. And I was like, this is not possible. And then, we didn't live in the time of Google and Wikipedia. So I had to research. I went to my biology teacher. She had no idea what Godzilla is. And I like, kisse main pooch raha hu? But at the end of the day, I understood that, okay, it is a scientific phenomena that you can reproduce without a male or without a female. Actually, usually it's the females who will reproduce. There is no male required. The male gamete is actually inside the female body itself. So, sometime watching good movies and learning from it is actually very interesting. There is a new movie that's come, all the SDG people, by Leonardo DiCaprio's movie called Don't Look Up. It's a very, very interesting concept where a comet is coming and going to hit the earth, and the president of the United States and everybody else is making fun of it. So, how people make fun of climate change? Yesterday, I met a good friend of mine. He said, SDGs are bogus. I said, are really? I said, everything is, for the vaccination is bogus, SDG is bogus, wearing masks is not useful. Please follow the protocols. Don't listen to the conspiracy theories. Anyway, interesting, right? How many of you watch Godzilla, by the way? How many of you know what Godzilla is? Okay, Farhana knows, so she's King Kong, so she knows. Safia knows. Okay, so anyone else? That's it? No one else? Daniel, have you seen Godzilla? Muslims raise his hand. Good. Daniel, do you know what Godzilla? Have you heard of it?
Yes, I did raise my hand.
Oh, you did raise your hand. All right, good enough. Okay, so let's get back to quickly learning some concept before I'll show you some. There's some really interesting things I found out as I was researching for a biology lesson. So first, we'll do a little bit of fundas. In the first part of asexual reproduction is binary fission. Very simple. Binary fission is usually in a small lower organism like yeast. Okay, so when you make a cake, when you bake it, you put yeast. Yeast will undergo reproduction, which is actually nothing but fission. So what happens basically is, you see, this is a cell. Let's say it's an amoeba, and the most important thing for any organism to survive is the nucleus. Remember, we spoke about cytoplasm, ribosome, mitochondria. Nucleus is the cell's CPU. So the moment in a fission, the nucleus breaks down. There are two nucleus now, and both of them are daughter cell. The parent has dead now. Think of it like that. In some species of spiders, when a male and a female they have fertilization, the female kills the male. Do you know the name of the spider? Strange, right? You go on a date, you get married, and then the female will kill you. Wow, it's interesting. Sounds a lot like some of the girls I know. Correct? So this is how binary fission is. It's a very simple cell division. The parent splits into two, and two new daughter cells are formed. And, these are exam questions. So when you get to know it, when you get to learn about it, just learn this diagram. It's a very simple diagram. You know what a binary fission is. Remember, it is an amoeba and yeast. Any question, raise your hand, ask me, stop me, and I'll help you around. Also, in animals, like multicellular animals like Hydra, Hydra with all the hydras, and sponges, this is again a very simple process. Okay, let me, not Hydra and sponges, this is binary fission in amoeba and yeast. Let me go to a concept called budding. What's budding? You see, the word bud itself is an answer. This is Hydra. You see, Hydra has lots of tentacles out there. So what happens in Hydra? A small bud, an extension of the body starts growing. So you see this, these are tentacles of Hydra. As the bud grows, the bud becomes a full size organism, another Hydra itself. Correct? So example, it also happens in cactus. Very interesting. Look at the pictures. I always was wondering what are these. So from the leaves of the cactus, another bud is grown. Can you see the buds? There's so many of these buds. There is no other organism involved. It is asexual reproduction. It has a process on its own, and a new cactus will eventually grow from it. And that is how you see cactuses, they grow on one top of another. Huge cactuses will start growing. This is a process called budding. Both of these, all the asexual reproduction are, remember, one of the key words you remember is mitosis. Yes? We did a great detail on mitosis and meiosis, so you need to learn about this. So examples of budding, very simple examples of budding is Hydra and cactus. In fact, budding is very, very popular in growing plants. So all those who love, gardening, all those who understand gardening, you actually do official budding of, bulbs, runners. So you see all these plants, you can see them. There are buds growing out there. You take the buds and you replant it, and they'll grow into a new plant. So very simple, very, the process is very simple. Of course, today there are many more techniques, but these are two techniques: binary fission and budding. Very quickly, quick recap before I go on to two more, and then we'll do it. I want someone else to quickly explain what binary fission is. Mudabbir, why don't you explain what binary fission is?
Sir, when the parent cell splits into two cells.
Okay, all right. And two cells are called, what are the two cells called, Mudabbir?
Daughter cells.
Daughter cells. And what's the process involved?
Mitosis.
Mitosis. And what are the two examples? I'm sorry, I'm asking one person, but I'm sure you know that.
Yeast and amoeba.
Fantastic. All right. Okay, Safia, tell me what is budding.
When the bud it grows into full size.
Okay, okay. When the bud grows into it, and what happens? The bud becomes its own
Cell.
own cells. Okay, all right. And give me two examples, please.
Hydra,
And
cactus,
okay, and what is the process again involved?
mitosis.
Fantastic, fantastic, Safia. Good, Mudabbir, Safia. Thank you so much. Yes, Khadija, very interesting. There is no SDG gender equality here. Unfortunately, they're still called daughter cells, right? There are no son cells. Humko bete chahiye hi nahi, right? So this is a very, very smart question Khadija is asking. You should take a biology. You know, the reason they call it daughter cell is they will reproduce again, correct? And the process of reproduction is always attributed to the female. Although it's just single cell, there is no sexual fertilization involved, they still will reproduce, and that is why they're called daughter cells. Soon they'll become a mother cell or a parent cell. We call them parent cell, but they always call daughter cells. Very interesting. Yeah, you can become a scientist and you can challenge. You know, this is how theories are changed. You go and write a theory and say, why are they not called son cells? And maybe somebody will accept your version and they will change them. But so far, we'll accept what it is. All right. The third form of asexual reproduction is another very interesting word called spores. Just use the word spores. Sporulation. When spores fertilization and spore. So the word is sporulation. Don't get worried by the word sporulation. Simple thing. You see a mushroom here. It's like an umbrella and it is raining spores. The moment spores are released, they will grow into their own spores without any fertilization. Simple process. This is sporulation. You don't really have to learn a lot of it. You learn the diagram, you know what it is. Spore plus fertilization. You write it down. You know, in your exams, when there's a question, you write the word spore plus fertilization is sporulation, where mushroom releases unfertilized spores and they grow into a new organism without fertilization. Again, process is mitosis. See, I've given the last one is called there's two actually. This is called fragmentation. You know, it's also called grating. What is grating? Is you take a plant, you cut them up, and you replant it. Can you give examples of something like that? We've done this with very common examples in our homes. Some people actually believe, "Ye karoge to paisa aayega." Money plant. Look at that. Is that what you said, Farhana? Pakka business study student, isn't it? Money plant. We cut those money plant and we grow in a house ke paisa bahut aane wala hai. And this is nothing called but fragmentation. See, all these real pictures of fragmentation, but this is what we are talking about. Actually, there is an exam question I wanted to share with you, and this you will like it. This is a process called callus. Okay, I will explain that what it means. In fragmentation, there are other methods also. These are newer methods. This is a method called micropropagation. Micro, small. Micropropagation is what happens is you take up a cluster of cells. Callus, you see this, I'm sorry, where did I pitch it in? 1 minute. You see this petri dish, this dish here, bowl, and you see the cells here. The mass of cells is called callus. So now what happens is this callus, say carrot. Okay, these are actually cultured in the sense you grow them specifically in the right nutrient, and when they start budding in, they become a plant in themselves. This becomes this full. And of course, one single one looks like this, but soon they will grow into these and they will become an entire bunch of cells. I like doing just I'll just erase it for you. Remember the word callus. Again, it was an exam question, and this is what we're talking about. Okay, so basically, there is a word used, egg. Egg is a basic word used for every organism which fertilizes. So you can even have a plant egg if that was a question. But this concept is called tissue culture. What I'm teaching you right now is called tissue culture. Remember that. So there are plant tissues. You grow the plant tissues as a mass of cells, which is called callus. Okay, these are the common ways of reproduction. I thought let me make things more interesting, and I thought of some odd reproductions, asexual reproductions, but some really odd ones. Can anybody guess and tell me something which we see? Okay, male and female are not involved, but something that grows, something that actually is a new child or a new extension. Can you think of it? Any odd reproductions? I'll have some really interesting ones for you now. Think of it. Oh, it's a very common one, a very common scientific one. I taught you twins. Okay, twins still require male and a female, a parent, right? But yes, twins is double fertilization. So suddenly, instead of one XY chromosome, you have two XY chromosomes. So they're two, offsprings. What else that does not require a normal male and female reproduction?
Mold maybe?
Which one?
Mold on like
Mold. Okay, mold is good, but we already spoke about binary fission, which is where yeast and amoeba will be, which is what your molds is all about. Very odd things that you really realize. Okay, this was not there say 100 years back. This particular one, what I'm talking about, others were there since the beginning of the creatures. Do you know of any creature that actually grows his own arm or leg or something else?
Starfish?
Starfish. Good, Mudabbir. All right. Have you ever killed a chipkalli? Lizard? Have you thrown a slipper as a lizard? Muslim? No, I'm not talking about throwing slipper at Mudabbir, at a real lizard. Yeah? Ahmed, you've done that with your sisters? And what happens if the slipper only hits the tail? What happens?
Hail cut.
Tail breaks off, right? Does a tail reproduce? Next time that the lizard comes in, you say, hello, how are you? Are ye nahi tum kahan se leke aa gayi tum? Right? You've not seen that? Start observing lizards in your area. This is nothing but, again, reproduction. Starfish, lizards. One very interesting concept, sheep. What has happened with the newest sheep, the dolly? I'm sure you all know about dolly. You know about dolly, right?
Sir, it grew a lot of wool.
Lot of wool. Okay, but what is the keyword? How was dolly created?
cloning.
Cloning. Okay, good enough. All right. What's unique about this creature? What creature is this, by the way?
Seahorse.
Seahorse?
Seahorse. What is unique about seahorses?
The males are the one who carry the embryo.
Wonderful, right. Fantastic, Daniel. So it's the male who is expected to be pregnant. That's the key word. Of course, males are not pregnant, but generally what happens is when a seahorse female lays egg, it is not asexual reproduction, but it is odd reproduction. All the eggs are actually taken by the male. Male's stomach swell. They are the ones who go around all the a process that a pregnant woman would have, and then the babies are hatched in the eggs. Interesting, isn't it? Because a seahorse is actually a fish, so they lay eggs and then babies come out. Another thing, of course, the word cloning should be CLO10, but cloning is an interesting concept. Asexual reproduction, very, very simple concept. The first cloned animal was the sheep, and the name of the sheep was Dolly, which is why some of you say, why do I say use the word Dolly? I didn't name it, right? Arey, Dolly Dolly क्यों बोलते हैं? कुछ और बोलो, अच्छा नाम बोलो, आमिना बोलो उसको. नहीं. They have named it Dolly itself. Okay, so how does cloning happen? They've taken an adult Eve. Remember the Eve is a female sheep, right? And they've taken the cells of the adult Eve who's strong, whose wools are good. They've taken the whole process. There is a donor cell. So this is Baba, black sheep. Have you any wool? This is your, right? This is your donor egg, sperm. They take this, they fertilize this in a Different mom. Interesting, right? Wow, kya complicated hai. In a very healthy surrogate mother. That's a key word. Even humans have surrogate babies, by the way. Okay, a small trivia. Shah Rukh Khan's youngest son is a surrogate son. What's his name of the youngest son? The elder one is very famous, right? Last year he was in the news all the time. He was actually top of Google search. What's the youngest son's name? Trivia. Let me see. You can tell me. Aleem, Faiz. Nobody knows. Khadija.
Aryan Khan.
No, that's the eldest one. I want the youngest son's name.
It's Ibrahim or Abraham.
Sakleen knows. Good enough. Ab pata chala who reads Bombay Times. Phas gaya bol ke. Right? Yeah, it's Abraham. Correct? I think they just renamed the word Ibrahim into Abram. Abraham. So they wanted to make both nice, happy name. Anyway, surrogacy is where you take a fertilization happens outside the body. You see, these are the real parent, but the surrogate mother is someone who's healthier or more conditioned, and this is the surrogate mother, and the baby is formed through surrogacy. It's called, the word is surrogacy, and that is how cloning happens. It's a part of your textbook. So this is asexual reproduction actually, but it is an odd reproduction, isn't it? Another thing that you mentioned that I got to know is starfish. Starfish, if you cut one limb of a starfish, so if I cut this part, one limb, another limb, this will grow into its own starfish. There is a small underdeveloped brain here, and each of the limb has eyes. Isn't it? This is like truly amazing. It's one of the most amazing creations that nature has. Starfish, you cut a starfish, try doing it. If you get a starfish, you cut a starfish, it will grow itself into a new limb, a new starfish itself. So asexual reproduction, you don't need any male-female gamete because it happens inside the single organism. This is my favorite example, the chipkali one, right? The lizard. The lizard, there's some yucky pictures. I thought, what happens is, when you hit a lizard to protect itself, it breaks its tail. It breaks it. The blood vessels close up. It reduces the bleeding. Immediately there's a blood clot, and in less than a year, the lizard will, it will create or grow a new tail. There's a word for it called regeneration. Human beings, our only skin cells regenerate, but in lizards, it's a full regeneration of a body organ. The word for this is parthenogenesis. Remember, I told you the only word I told you, big word. Parthenogenesis is asexual reproduction where females can reproduce without males. You will have babies the same way a cell grows, the lizard's tail grows. Babies are there when males are not required. There was actually a very interesting movie which says, a world where there are no males, will there be children? And now we have scientific theory. I don't know how true it is, but there will be complete, they don't need. And there are many creatures who grow like this. I was surprised. There are many creatures, and these are some of the examples who actually reproduce through parthenogenesis. Komodo dragon, the largest of them. Komodo dragon are very famous, like Gila monitors. They're very famous in Indonesia. I've seen them in Andaman and Nicobar. They reproduce. Perhaps the idea of Godzilla we started with maybe came from Komodo dragon. They reproduce without a male required. Some of the sharks, this is called bonnet head shark, they reproduce without males. They're water fleas, they're trees, they're grasshoppers, and they're geckos, which are nothing but lizards. Interesting so far? I'll quickly summarize our session today, and then I can ask you to ask any question. Asexual reproduction, very simple, only one parent is involved. We don't say mother only, but usually it's a female who's involved, and no fertilization or gamete formation happens. This is a short reproduction time. So quickly, and the offsprings are genetically the same or very, very similar. Nothing new, nothing great, but this is the way it is. How is it? Good, interesting? Is biology, at least you're able to memorize and learn? If you can recall and look at all your notes, probably you can answer most of the questions that I usually do. Correct? Farhana, what is a callus? Remember? Just show me. I showed you in that Petri dish. Remember callus? Oh, it's okay. You can think. Anybody can answer. All right. I'm just pulling something out.
Plant egg.
Plant eggs. Okay, I like the way you say plant egg. Let me
Cluster of
pull up
cells.
cluster of cells. Good enough. Yes, cluster of cells. As always, I do. I'll run through the chapter with you, so you will have more confidence that we've done everything from the chapter. This is your chapter number 24. So let me run it through the chapter 24. It'll be easier, and you all can run through it. Any questions we can do? We can do few more, but I'm happy with what I've done so far, and don't want to just push you and do a lot of it today in one go. Is it good enough? Where is my in-text questions? Okay, so we started with the idea of reproduction, and then we went to the key thing, asexual reproduction. That is what we did. This is binary fission. We went to sporulation. We also went to budding, the vegetative process. Remember all of these that we did. We did grafting. Remember grafting part of it, and they want us to do a lot of exercise, which I don't think none of you will take up and do it. We did the idea of micropropagation, and this is callus. See, the word callus is here, a group or cluster of cells that we're talking about. This is our favorite animal. Yeah, there is Dolly. Now the Dolly तो अभी तो बच्चा नहीं, अभी तो आंटी बन गई है, बड़ा हो गया Dolly. Right? I think Dolly died also. There are many animals now that have been cloned. Monkeys have been cloned, sheep. So we will quickly run through this. Okay. Anybody, you can just help me with the answers and we are done with the session. Define reproduction. Keyword, always remember the keyword. It's a biology class. The biological process where organism, don't write one become two. Yeah, that is my answer. That is 1 2 ka 4 wala hai. Don't write one become two. The outside said that. The biological process where an organism reproduces to have offspring. Very simple. Think of that way. Anybody wants to answer point number 2? One difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. We had a lot of them.
Is not required in asexual reproduction.
Okay, all right. So the single organism can reproduce is asexual. All right, wonderful. So that is the key thing. And no fertilization. Start also use a little bit of biology words. So no fertilization or gametes formation. It's a shorter period, sexual reproduction, longer period. Correct? So these are a couple of things. Why is binary fission considered to be an asexual form of reproduction? Remember, the answer is in the last two words. What is formed at the end of it? Two cells?
Daughter cells.
Correct. Two daughter cells are formed without fertilization, where a parent loses his identity. There is no parent anymore. Imagine, we have children and the parents are not there. They are like thin air, gas. There is no trace of a parent. And that is exactly what happens in binary fission. The parent divides into two and there are two daughter cells. There is no parent anymore. So that's an asexual reproduction. Okay, what's a vegetative form of propagation? Example, define vegetative. We use the word. I use the word grafting, remember? So grafting is a vegetative form of reproduction, and any root, plant, callus, you can use the example of carrot. So that could be easy. What is callus? I already taught you here. What is callus? A cluster or a group of cell in a cultural medium. So the medium has to grow. Example is a root of a cactus. Clone. What is a clone basically?
Well,
Go ahead. Yeah.
we use the gene of one animal to create another animal.
Brilliant. And the genetic copy is formed. So the reason why cloning is very important and why there's a whole cloning became very popular because they say imagine if you want to
there's a business of cloning.
There's a business of clone. Okay, clone is not like drone, right? For example, if you want Albert Einstein, so you can
like people.
Yeah.
Like
Okay, if you
people
could
clone animals and sell them.
All right. Okay. Awesome daughter says, I like that part. If you could clone any sports person, who would you clone? Quickly, think of it. Give me some answers.
See.
Messy.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
that's
So exactly the cells will be like messy, but people have started saying that even clones can be different from the masters because it is again your hard work, your skills, which are not a part of your DNA. All the things about your DNA will mostly be like looks. Of course, a lot of genetic information is in DNA, but you can clone people who are very intelligent, and that is the future that people are talking about. All right, so this is your class. This is your biology session. Probably another 1 or 2 classes. Hopefully, we will be able to finish. We'll do plant, and then we will do animals. Maybe 2 more biology classes, and you will be done. And then we will do a lot of recap. Also, I'll do a common class with Tigors for ICT. Until then, any questions? All good? Right? From Godzilla to lizards. Fine. Enjoy the class. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, by the way, Lincolns, we are all those who are locally here. We are meeting on Wednesday. There's no football anyway. So at 4:30 for your TMAs to submit at Don Bosco, right? Others who are far away, Khadija, Faiz, all of you, please submit. Daniel goes away. Please make sure Khalid, you have done your TMAs. I've seen your TMAs. Most of you have sent me. Those who have not sent me, please send me. But please start submitting your TMAs. You can also submit your TMAs online. If ever you think the place is very far away, Khadija, you can come and tell me your Faiz. I will help you fill your TMAs and submit them online, but I will prefer to do it physically, but we can still do it online also. Okay. All right. All of you take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.